What's the dumbest rule your school ever enforced? Can't be standing around in groups more than 4. Gang mentality. My gang of 4 found that policy very convenient. They outlawed bracelets because there was an article in a magazine somewhere saying they advertised what sexual acts you were open for based on their color. Then someone tried to outlaw wristwatches for the same reason. We suddenly one day weren't allowed to stand in circles during recess because, and I quote, we could be dealing drugs. I will add that for the years prior we had been standing in circles no problem. Next recess, we stood in a triangle, cue principal going apeshit. Next day we stood in a square, principal kept us inside for a week. And threatened us all with detentions if we did it again, etc. I believe their idea was open-ended circles so they could see what we were doing. Still stupid. Edit, wow, this blew up. I should add this was in grade 8 in Canada, middle school. Most students who get a recess probably aren't dealing drugs. At my elementary school we would stand in a circle and exchange different Tic Tac flavors, and we felt like we were dealing drugs the way we kept it so secret. Kinda unrelated. But I have a similar story to drugs lol. When I was in elementary, I was playing with my rubber eraser by rubbing on the side so the rubber sheddings would come off. One kid looked at me and pointed at my rubber shreddings and called it cocaine. He started doing it too. And because he was popular, everyone else started doing it. It was a literal trend. And then you have the one kid who will actually snort it. No farting in class. They would say if you need to fart then go to the toilet, but then 9 times out of 10 if you asked to go to the toilet they'd say no. I remember in 5th grade we would have farting competitions to see who could fart the most during the day. We might have needed this rule. Locked the only boys' bathroom because someone wrote on the wall in Sharpie. It wasn't even anything rude or inappropriate either. It was just the word hi or something like that. Didn't unlock the door until one boy wet himself and parents threatened to sue. That kid really sacrificed himself for everyone else. A small price to pay for salvation potty break. Not really a rule, but the toilet paper holders are outside of the stalls on a wall. So you have to calculate before taking a shit how much you need and hope that it was enough. Awful. And impossible. No, it's easy. The answer is the entire roll. Banned all bags on campus. Students were expected to somehow carry everything they needed in hand. This was especially challenging if you had a non-ideal locker placement. I got a suspension for holding a stick. The phone call with my mom went something like this, only slightly dramatized. School, Mrs. Tech, your son has been suspended. Mom, oh my goodness, what did he do? S, he was holding a stick. M, did he hit someone with it? S, no. He was just holding it. M, did he threaten to hit someone with it? S, no, just held it. M, did he refuse to put it down when you asked? S, no, he was very cooperative. M, so. What did he do wrong? S, he held a stick. M, and I should be upset about that? S, absolutely, you know we have a zero tolerance policy. M, right. Well, I'll talk with him. As you might guess, I did not get in trouble at home. He has a stick, call the police. Razormine starts playing. Zero tolerance just means that if someone starts a fight with you, you fight back as hard as you can. You're going to get suspended for defending yourself anyway, might as well make it worthwhile. You have to wear your tie all the way home. Some sad bastard teachers would stand on the main road away from the school and try to hand out detentions in presumably their own time. Why even do this? You are not even in the school property. I know. It was a shit school as well, only like 50% of people graduated with 5 ACS. I mean sure, their ducking faculty is standing outside off-school premises mandating articles of clothing. Like, even a tenth of that concentrated effort on something constructive could be so helpful to children that need help. What morons. When I was in junior school, UK boarding school in the 80s, we were not allowed to say okay as it was considered slang and not befitting the young ladies and gentlemen that we should aspire to be. We also had to have a comb and a handkerchief on us at all times. On top of that, we weren't allowed to have our hands in our pockets because it looks slovenly. My friend is an administrator at a private school in NJ and the faculty has to sign in and out of the bathroom using Google Sheets. 9 a.m., 10 minutes, MF. Google Shits. In grade school, we weren't allowed to play on the playground equipment when it snowed. Eventually, we weren't allowed to play with snow or even go near it. I got in trouble for sitting in snow. This was in Minnesota where it snows half the year. Recess basically consisted of milling around the blacktop for 30 minutes. Yes, I remember the ridiculous snow rules in MN growing up. In my elementary school we weren't allowed to throw snow or make snowballs of any size, including rolling big ones. What ended up happening is that each grade, very small class sizes, would make their own snow forts from existing snow clumps created by the plows. The demand for snow clumps was furious, and so we would then attack other grades' snow forts to get more resources, i.e., steal the clumps of snow making up their base. Without the ability to throw snowballs, we'd just body slam each other instead. It was chaos, and also likely more dangerous than snowballs lol. #X200B, edit, no, I didn't go to your school, I think MN kids are all just born to body slam each other. No fighting, enforced by punishing the kids who were getting hit. No slow dances at the prom. What kind of music did they play? Took all the doors off the men's bathroom stalls because of vandalism for 2 months. Because some kids were vandalizing the school, everyone has to shit with no privacy. How TF does that relate? A lot of schools treat kids like prisoners. We weren't allowed to wear thongs. I don't know how they caught people who did TBH. For a while it was a fad to leave them purposefully visible under low-rise jeans. Oh, to relive the days of the whale tail. It was a simpler time. Teresa, reason why the thong song and Cisco took over the world in 2000. Playing cards at lunch was prohibited because it promoted gambling. Had the same rule. Most teachers didn't enforce it unless you were actually gambling. Different staircases for boys and girls. Edit, wow, this blew up. To clarify, this rule was enforced purely with the idea that good boys and girls don't talk to each other. The general air in the school was don't have anything to do with the opposite gender. I was in this school for only 2 years and coming from other good co-ed school, this really weirded me out. Also, the guys would just act creepy even for a simple "can you please move out of the way?" I believe this awkwardness could be prevented if there wasn't such an obvious separation between the genders. Edit 2, it wasn't a religious school. Just a general public school. Edit 3, no skirts. The uniform was similar to a salwar kameez. I was wearing a regulation uniform jacket in a classroom during winter that had no heating. The teacher demanded I remove my jacket and I refused because I was cold. She sent me to the headmistress. I had uniforms in my school with much the same policy, but we had no regulation coats with a rule that stated the moment you entered through the doors you take your coats off, no argument. I live in Canada where most of the days in the winter it was -20 with a wind chill of -30 and you had to take your coat off before you entered the school and put it on after you left the foyer. The ironic thing was I was a cringy dweeb who thought wearing a trench coat to school was cool and hip, and the teachers and principal had no problem me wearing that because it was formal wear and went with the school uniform. Mind you, it was a tattered old thing I found at a Goodwill for $5. One particular professor at my university would lock the door a minute after class began. If you had to leave to go to the bathroom, you couldn't get back in. Somehow this ancient fossil is still teaching and pulling similar shit. Had the same professor for 3 different classes that did basically this. He would shut the door and pull the window shade down as soon as the clock struck whatever time the class started. Anyone that came in after that, he would write their name down and mark them late.
3 ladies in your grade would be dropped a whole letter grade, from an A to B, C to D, etc. It was a stupid rule because my college campus was very spread out, so if you were someone that had back-to-back classes all over campus, you would almost guaranteed to be late. I'm pretty sure he was forced to stop doing that because there was a semester where half the class was failing just because they were late one too many times. I had a high school teacher like that. We had 5 minutes to get from classroom to classroom. My biology class was about as far away from my Latin class as was possible on the campus. The Latin teacher considered the 5-minute break before class to be part of her teaching time. I was always late to that class. It didn't matter to her that I had to run from clear across campus, late was late. Yeah, I had a couple of high school teachers like that too. They were also the same teachers that would say the bell doesn't dismiss you, I do.